Good morning, everybody. It is 3/26/2018, the 26th of March. On this wonderful, awesome Monday, we are taking a look at. I put in some trades earlier, trade alerts right away around 7 o'clock, a couple minutes before 7 o'clock this morning, to put a short in on the pound at 142.28. And a long on UJ at 105.1, and then a short on the euro at 124.10. And yeah, so kind of looking at all of our activity over the day. Our trades on mostly flat on the trade from Friday on the dollar yen, and then the euro. We also were above that one, about 50 pips in the red on that one, the New Zealand dollar short. So, that we are very extended in a lot of the markets and looking to capture on some major trend reversals coming up here, especially the dollar yen. That is the one that we're looking at mostly. And don't have a lot of big news releases coming out here. There's, even if we look down below here, activity index, just not a huge amount of info. One cool thing that we just found, actually it was just an alert on TradingView. They let you know what's new, and that just popped up this morning, that they have a crypto exchange now that you can trade in right off their site, just like you can with Oanda. If we take a look here, we've got CQG. So if, like, for futures traders, all that jazz, CQG is available. You can you can connect quite a bit of stuff through here. Forex.com, and then Poloniex now. So that's pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome. Okay. Now, taking a look at what we have going into our day. Want to take a peek at kind of a broad look at our markets. So let's look at gold. And we can see that gold has had a pretty nice rise. And actually, I know we've got a good gold chart over here. Okay. Gold has, look, we had this massive swing down, followed by a pretty nice rise back up. And where are we at? We're getting some resistance up here around this 45, and then also this trend line. Old trend line. So we also have ended up on a pivot in our Fibonacci zone. So really, if we get a breakdown below 1345, that's probably a short area we're looking at. I'm going to kind of break the point of view we've been taking, because on a weekly chart, we have on a weekly chart, we have, I want to bring it up on the other one. Maybe. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I was testing out their Hearst module, but it's not as good as Motive Waves. Okay, so the pound. I want to look at the pound on the daily here. Now, we have quite a bit of extension in our oscillators. Okay, we have extended levels in the RSI, extended levels in the composite index, and then if we look on the screen here, these are square of 9 levels. So 142.6 is a natural and extremely strong resistance zone, which also happens to be right around this squared beginning and end of a squaring time on our in our if I can talk here, in our Gann square here, and so looking at that pivot, looking at this resistance zone, looking at these accelerated extended levels, looking at this short, we're looking at a short basically, really between the value of 142, well, really 143 and 141, looking at shorting in this zone. So any significant rally in here, looking to go short, because our risk is really going to be 143.5, and so if your risk tolerance is within hundreds of pips, then this is cool. If it's not, then you're probably going to want to wait to see if we do see higher prices. I'm really not anticipating that. One of the big news things that came out was that the Wall Street Journal had an article that the U.S. and China, they have been working over the weekend trying to come to some agreement on tariffs, trying to come to some understanding on all that. And so that should be very bullish for the markets. That should cause a lot of, swing back and return to, at least a 50% retracement in a lot of these overtrended and extended markets. The pound, though, is probably the best performing currency around right now, and that is why I'm looking to get in the short here. Okay. Trading view back up. Let's look at the euro. Okay, euro is rolling over. You know what? I want to look at it from the clouds. There we go. Euro is super extended. Okay, we're at a 618 retracement. We have a series of tops here with lots of selling wicks. We are well extended beyond the baseline, and remember that the baseline acts like a kind of a rubber band. Think of if my hand here is the baseline and my other hand is price. I wonder if I have a rubber band. I don't think I do. Well, never mind. But if there's a rubber band, like around both of my hands here, and the more I push up, the tighter that rubber band gets, and the more it wants to come back down. So that's what we are looking at happening here with the price in our euro now. We're looking at a return. So we've got kind of a natural resistance zone right here at 124.10, and then we've got a very extended condition here where price is in relation to the baseline. And then also, if we look at our composite index and our RSI, we are extended down here as well. All right. So not looking to go long. Would be looking to go long at a return to the base. So $1.237 is the zone that we'd be looking at to want to go back short. Okay. Looking at the dollar yen. Dollar yen is catching a bit of a bid here. We are probably going to experience a pretty significant snapback into value. We've been talking about how oversold this guy is, how how extended down it has been. I'm going to revert back to my Optima charts here and bring up the dollar yen. And here's, okay, so I've shown you the Hearst business before. And, you know what, give me 1 second here. And I want to show you something that's kind of interesting. And I was just rereading Hearst a little bit. I wanted to refresh my memory because I knew I was going to talk about it a little bit. Wonder why it's not. Well, that is just irritating. Give me 1 sec because I don't know why that is. That's canceling those, but why isn't it canceling the... Odd. Maybe if I have to reset the template. Well, that's all right. Okay. Looking at the dollar yen, this is on the 60-minute chart, but I want to look at it on the weekly quick. On the weekly, we have significant divergence on the weekly. I mean, this is, when you see such wild extended conditions on the in your oscillators, it is a cause for notice and to take a look at what the heck is happening, because right here, if we look at this right here, this is a 180 degree Gann line. And 180 degree lines typically act as a strong rejection zone. And so as we're coming down to it for the first time in quite a while, we should really look at price being rejected at that zone. We can see this kind of repeat its pattern quite a bit. You know, here, did not face any rejection. You know, really, when you observe this kind of behavior, when you see price extending beyond a natural resistance zone, that is another way to look at something as being really overbought. Really overbought. And so we just have that. But we can see as it comes down again, it did face some resistance here, traded up a bit, came down, tested again, fell through. At the next 180, found resistance here, was bought back up, faced resistance again, or not resistance, finding support here, traded up, and so forth. So, it would be very odd for price to want to just collapse below this zone. And we should not anticipate that happening. We actually should anticipate a pretty, really coming back up to this one, or at least to the 360. Now, that's on the weekly. Look at it on the daily. Same situation. We have this extended bullish divergence here, and this is a gorgeous candlestick right now. Very nice candlestick. And we're looking at where we're sitting here right now with that. These lines here, I want to show you the kind of, it's not a big deal. It's a big deal to me because I'm a technical analyst junkie, but I think it's pretty neat. Anyways, want to check out this on the hourly now. So on the hourly, even though we've got this bearish divergence here, we should not expect that to hold up, because we've just been, again, on longer time frames, on the daily and the weekly, we've been so extended, so that on these short-term time frames, and because we're kind of testing this level up here, we may catch a really nice bid higher. We'll have to watch out for that. Okay, coming back down to okay. Now, the pound dollar. This guy is extended. I was drawing these trend lines, last week. And, I was discussing the behavior of a parabolic rise. And we are kind of, repeating that kind of behavior, where we've got a clear uptrend, but we have just these continued moving and accelerated moves up. So parabolic moves, they pretty much always reverse. One of the few things that's 100% of the time is that parabolic rises do reverse, and they reverse pretty strongly. I really want to take a look at, we're going to see some big moves today. I'm really excited about it. We got into some trades great last week. The last couple days probably were a little rough on Thursday and Friday, but this week should be a blast. We should have a lot of fun, a lot of great moves coming up, and a lot of changes in the direction of the trend of a lot of these pairs. So those were our trades we put up earlier this morning. Let's take a peek at the. Just want to take a peek at gold. One quick. The euro is geez, that is just really extended up there. Man, oh man, that is nuts. Also, where are we at? The New Zealand dollar. Now, that is a long-term trend line we've got going on there. Oh, you know what? I know what I was going to do. I'm getting distracted because I'm excited and it's Monday. Okay, let's go ahead and take that off. Let's look at the Aussie dollar. Okay, let's take a peek at the Aussie dollar. I'm going to apply our you know what? That is really aggravating. So we're going to get a Hurst in here, and then we're going to start with the peak. So we're looking for those market tops and valid trend lines. Okay, so those are there, and then I need to add one more Hurst cycle, and that is going to be our troughs, and there's those. Okay, now we're going to take a peek at we're just going to keep this here. Okay, now again, Hurst cycles, they show you time cycle moves. They show you the like the average count and moves of an instrument when it shows that it has some peaks and its lows, highs and lows. And so we can see that kind of behavior played out here. And if we want to, we can show the semicircles. Okay, and so this is how these play out. So you have the purple arc here that represents our 20-day. Well, we're looking at our, yeah, that's our 20-day. No, the purple's our 40-day. So based on this hourly chart, this is a long-term wave where in this kind of a cycle, every 40 days what we're saying is that we experience a type of peak in price, some type of high in price. And then, in that same time area, we're looking at the 10-day, which also coincides there, followed by the 5-day, the 3-day, and then the 1-day here. So, well, the part of the 1-day. It's a kind of an odd division here. But you can see that this is how these zones kind of play out. And, they don't always fall in on each other. They're not always going to have these massive confluent zones. This is kind of an art and a science. And then these only paint these zones when there is an actual bottom found around that zone. So if I take those off, because I really don't need all that noise on the screen, I'm left with valid trend lines, VTLs. Valid trend lines. These are automatically painted trend lines that paint tops and bottom trend lines based on the cycle. So, if I'm looking at the top here, on a 10-day measurement, this pink line coming down, this high touches this high. That's a valid trend line, pointing out some tops, some upwards resistance. And then if I look on the bottom here, I've got this, I've got an orange trend line, and it's showing the support line for me. And I've got it traveling up here based on the 5-day. Okay? So that's just what those lines are. But there is a part of this that is really powerful, and it's going to look a lot like something we use already. Now, Hearst came out with this. He was an engineer, and in the 60s and 70s, I believe, is when he came out with his first book discussing cycles in the market. I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head. I should know it by heart. But the real key here was the future lines of demarcation. Okay? And is this on the peaks? Okay, that's on the peaks. I want to clear all. I just want to see, actually, let's see the 5-day. And then let's see the 20-day. Okay? Now, all this is, okay, all these are, this is kind of like the Ichimoku system that we're used to looking at, okay? This purple line is the 20-day future line of demarcation. So it is just the price action thrust forward 20 periods. And this kind of pinkish, orangish, peachish looking, probably more of a peach colored line, this is the 5-day FDL. And the behavior of these relates to where these cycles show up. And really, this kind of behaves the same way that Ichimoku does, where when we cross or above or below one of these FDLs, we have a good signal for going long or short over either a shorter or longer period of time. And so we crossed above, okay? But probably what's going to be more important is if we cross above I mean, just look at the past part here. We saw this cross below on the 20 and fell down. And now we're facing resistance up against that same line. And then where's the next market bottom going to be? Well, if I look over here, I've got the longest time frame is our 20 week, and then our 60-day. All right, so I've got some type of bottom coming up really right around this zone. Okay, where these circles are, that's where the semicircles kind of branch off. Okay, so I'm within a long-term bottom being found based on that 20-week cycle here. All right, so that's just kind of, but how does this look like Ichimoku? Well, I mean, I think you can probably imagine it already. Because if I add the Ichimoku, we'll make this green slightly thicker. That stay red, slightly thicker. And the Chico span, we'll keep that blue slightly thicker. Okay. And if I create this, boom. Okay, here's our Ichimoku system. All right. So again, here's our lagging span. It's back here. This is the blue line. It's probably kind of hard to look at with all this other stuff. But you know what? Actually, why don't I just get rid of we just have the 20-day. Okay. Now we basically treat Hearst. I don't think Hearst knew about the Ichimoku system. So what's interesting is that, by about a 80-year period, when oh man, I'm forgetting all sorts of things today. I forgot the gentleman from Japan who created the Ichimoku system, but he developed the Ichimoku system in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And then Hearst came out with this in the 70s. And so there is a huge correlation between how we look at these markets. So, we have this past price action looks exactly like this. Well, not exactly, but very similar to this future line of demarcation looks like our cloud in the past. All right. And we can see these like the Chico span, the lagging span, the blue line is same as the principal over here. And so we have a pretty cool correlation of the principles of trading these systems being shared. It's just that I imagine that Hearst did not know about the Ichimoku system, so he kind of came up with a different view of the market at a glance than the Ichimoku system. His is a Western style, and then we have an Eastern style from Japan. But they're pretty much, for lack of a better way of it, I mean, they're very similar. Ichimoku is hands down easier and simpler to understand, though. They have a very strong correlative structure and theory and approach to trading the markets. Okay, just thought I'd point that out because that's interesting. But we'll get off of that rant there, and we'll return back to our market. So let's take a peek real quick at our gold trade. Again, we're looking at we shouldn't be looking at getting short at all. Okay. But based on our Gann line, we're looking at that. So when we're getting some flattening in price and we get these guys coming together here, again, what are the principles of our Ichimoku system? How do we determine whether we're going to go long or short? Well, we only go long when price is above the cloud, when the conversion line is above the baseline, when the cloud in front is bullish, so it's colored green, and when the lagging span is above the cloud. So we have that happening. What are our early warning signs that this is going to be changing? So if we're in an uptrend, we're looking for warning signs like this. We're looking at, is price crossing below both the conversion and the baseline? Sure. Did the baseline cross below the conversion? Did the conversion line cross below the baseline? I don't know if that's really a cross or just kind of lagged down a little bit. But then really we can kind of see right here what's happening is that the lagging span, if we continue like this, will end up inside the candlesticks. Now that is not a very bullish. Well, it's fairly neutral. It's not saying the trend is going to end, but it's not saying it's going to continue either. It's just consolidating. So we don't want to trade when the lagging span is inside. So actually, based on the Gann square, there's a good short. On the Ichimoku system, we don't really have a trade set up here. Okay? I'm just looking at our current trade setup in there. So now let's take a peek at the euro. And catching a little bit of a bid here, and it's looking like it wants to try and gain some strength, but it's actually looking fairly anemic. Let me move that out of the way. And actually I want to look up to see if there was a where were they at? Okay. So yes, dollar yen or euro dollar, looking at that extended zone. On the cloud, we have that trade set up, so that is still active and good. The dollar yen. So this is where we're looking at a warning sign that a trend is about to change based on the hourly. We don't have a condition to go long here on the Ichimoku system. Okay? So if I should preface this with saying that I have two kind of, I swing trade and I intraday trade. The dollar yen pair right now is a swing trade. I probably have been doing you guys a disservice by not pointing that out, which trades are swing trades. So swing trades, I consider swing trades to be something that you hold over a period of days or weeks. All right? An investment is something that you hold over periods of years, and swing trades, swing trading, there's a huge variable and variation involved with how people determine the length of time that you swing trade. Because really, most investors will say that a short-term trade is something that you buy and sell within a year. Or even 2 or 3 years. That's a short-term trade. Swing trading, imagine if you're watching this, our idea of a long-term hold would be something over a week or a few days, depending on your time frame. So for me, swing trading is something that I'm going to hang on to for a period of days or weeks. UJ is definitely a period of weeks, and then I'm looking at some short-term trades. So what I'm going to try to do, and when I have the Forex Lens guys remind me about this, is I want to make sure when I put in a trade, I want to clearly say, well, this is an intraday trade. Because maybe that'll help more on identifying, well, how long would I hang on to it? How long would I, that kind of a deal. So I have a long based on a long-term swing. But I'm not looking at taking a short-term trade here yet. Why? Well, I don't have a short condition set up because whenever price is in the cloud, don't trade. We don't trade when price is in the cloud. Right? So that's all we really need to know. What are the warning signs that the trend is going to change? We have the lagging span crossing above the candlesticks. All right? We have the conversion line above the baseline, and we have price sitting in the cloud. Okay? So this is a early warning sign that we're about to have a change in trend. And so we want to look forward. What price level would this be at when we want to decide to go long? I'll monitor this, and when I see it happen, I'll put it up here. But we're kind of looking at 105. Well, gosh. It could possibly want to touch up there, and I'd hate for us to go long while we're still inside the cloud. So actually no short-term trade on this guy right now. All right. Moving down, let's looking at the pound dollar. Nice thrust down here, coming back down into value. Now, I want you to pay attention to this. again, this is a long-term swing for a price down move. Look at this cloud right here. This is not healthy. Neither is this. Thin clouds are not healthy clouds. They are very dangerous. That means that there's not a lot of support. There's not a lot of support here at all, really. it's kind of a dangerous zone. But that short that I put in earlier this morning at 142.28, that is a great short we've got going already. We might catch a. We'll be interested to see if we catch a bounce right here off of the conversion line. All right, that's gonna be interesting to see. But again, we may not see that. We may see some violent turnarounds going into the day here because the equity markets are catching a huge rally right now. In the futures, you know, we've got the Dow is up almost 1.5%. The Nasdaq is up almost 2%, and the S&P futures are up almost 1.5%. Well, they're up 1.39% now. So we've got some huge, you know, moves on our equities. Huge reversal moves. Really nice moves. Now, dollar yen, taking a peek here. We had those. If you've been trading for any length of time, you know that a lot of moves happen near the end of the hour. It's kind of like the what do you call it? What is it? In the regular stock market, they say that amateurs trade the open, the pros trade the close. That kind of applies with intraday trading as well, depending on your time frame. So if you trade off hourly candlesticks, you probably only want to trade near the end of a candlestick, because then you know, because candlesticks are used for confirmation, so there's really not a lot of point in trading the middle of a candlestick in the middle of an hour if you're looking at an hourly chart. Sometimes there is, you know, you can catch those kind of trades, but you know, for the most part, we try to make sure that we get our entries planned near the end of a candlestick within the last 15 minutes, 15 minutes of a candlestick. So let's see here. New Zealand dollar, we probably could look at, well, we've got a trend here. Really got a kind of a channel going on. And we're above the cloud, so we might want to, we're going to have to really wait till we get below the cloud here. Aussie dollar, similar situation. Although the Aussie dollar, if we look at the hourly, we may be getting a trade set up here, okay? We may be getting a trade set up. Lagging span, we're below the cloud in the lagging span, all right? But we're inside of price, and we're still inside the cloud. And the conversion line, and this is where, you know, the conversion line is still above the baseline, and the conversion line is even above the cloud. So we're looking at, but what do we like to see? Well, looks like we found some support at the bottom of the cloud, but then we didn't catch a lot of support on the baseline. You know, we've traded below it here. It's going to be an interesting thing to watch out for right here. We're going to have to really take a peek at this and watch this. Euro pound, really a dull mover right now. However, looking at the hourly, we may be finding a long trade setup happening here, because I mean, the conversion line, baseline are both above the cloud. Price is above the cloud. The cloud in front of us is green. And where's the lagging span? Lagging span is just kind of sitting right here. Okay, so we're waiting for the lagging span to break out. So the euro, we can really kind of forecast a long entry, probably, you know, at 87.45. All right. Dollar Canadian, US dollar, Canadian dollar. That's a big volume bar right there. It's caught a lot of buying there. You know what? We always like to look at that cloud, right? So where are we at? Well, looks like we broke back above the 8-hour cloud. And we are below the 4 and the 1-hour cloud, but look, you know, we're crossing back into this. We may be catching a nice bid here on the US dollar, Canadian dollar. There may be a nice move here. You know what? Why don't we pull up? I don't think I actually have these drawn on here. I had to reinstall my Optima, so I lost so much of my analysis. I'm real upset about that. Where is we? Let's pull up that Loonie here. Okay. Let's do. Yeah, I'll keep it on the daily. I want to find our most recent swing low is down here. Oh, there we are. Cool. That's good. And then I want my square of 9 dates. So we'll start here. Cool. And then I want my static okay. And then I want, where's my composite index? Composite index. And then I want my divergence oscillator. Oh no, that's not what I wanted. But I want to make sure that's doing it off of the oscillator. There we go. Okay, yeah. So on the daily, we are seeing some clear bearish divergence signals here in the US dollar, Canadian dollar. And so we are getting that sell-off there. And we kind of have a trend line here. So, you know, finding support around the 127.9 is a kind of our ideal area. I might put up the Ichimoku system too. I want the Chico span to be black. The Tankin-sen is blue. And the Kinjin-sen is red. Okay. Oh, see, the base is right on there. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I like that. Cool. All right. Yeah, I'm looking at it from the daily here. Pretty divergent. Pretty normal. I mean, we did have a big accelerated move out of here. It's pretty normal. Check it on the yearly. Oh, God, not the yearly. Oh, go away. Why is it? Oh, there we go. Now that's better. Now I've got the live data. Yep. Okay. So there are a couple options we've got depending on. It's not really a crapshoot, but we just kind of want to be a little. So we can wait to go long. Let's say like 128.8. Or we can wait for a cross above the conversion line, and that's kind of a midpoint in a Gann square, or not a mid, a resistance line here, which is right where the conversion line is at. So we're looking at like 1 point. Yeah, 1.30. So there's a couple of entries. Avoid us getting kind of in a choppy area. So we're looking at down here for a long on a pullback, or up here on a long on a cross above. Because we've already touched back down here, so we should find some good trade opportunities setting up here. All right. Now, let's look at the rest of these markets. Just kind of double check what we've got going on. Gold flattening out there. The euro, it's trying to figure out what it wants to do here. Probably going to roll over though. Let's just watch that happen. Dollar yen, it is catching a lot of strength. Okay, we are really watching a nice bounce off of this zone. That's pretty exciting. And then we're watching the pound kind of capitulate more too, as we're going into the 8:15 time here, and then at 8:30 we should really see some moves happening. Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar. New Zealand dollar got resistance right up against the 8-hour cloud. Right up against it. So that, and we're really accelerated in our oscillator, but man, we could take a look at this on the 8-hour. Oh, yeah. Well, that's not a very supportive zone. It's kind of weak. Inverse head and shoulders bought that up. What's the fib line here? It's probably right on the... We may be in a good shorting zone here soon. I'm going to take a look at it. One thing that's interesting is that the dollar Swiss is at 0.07, and the dollar Swiss follows the dollar index pretty closely, but the dollar index is still sitting at 0.20. Okay, so keep an eye. That's an odd divergence. Cryptocurrencies real quick. Bitcoin finding support at the 618 fib. Litecoin. You know, we're just kind of in a dull moving area right now in cryptos. Just a very consolidated moves happening all over the place. Nothing too exciting to look at either way. So we're just kind of watching to see how these things play out. Again, our big movers today are definitely going to be the pound and the dollar yen. Okay, the pound dollar and the dollar yen. Those pairs are going to be our biggest movers. And the dollar yen looks to have quite a bit of oomph behind it. It's not being thrust down very easily. It's getting bought up pretty nicely. From swing to swing here, we're looking at we're approaching that 50% retracement zone. So we should find some resistance up here the higher we're getting. But I tell you what, if we blast through that, it's going to go to the proverbial moon. And right up here, this is one of the golden ratios. This is a big deal. The 618 zone, this is a big fib area that we could retrace all the way to very handedly. And actually, I want to look at the dollar yen based on that move, because I believe we have ourselves, yes, we can be looking at a bat. This would be a bearish bat pattern. So 105, the 106 zone or 105.59, those are kind of some zones to look at here. And just looking at this in our Hurst cycles now, I've seen that we've crossed above the 2-day. We are above the one day through. Well, gosh, what are these? It's hard to tell. The 1 day, the 2-day, and the 5-day future lines of demarcation. So we've crossed above those on our chart here. So that's a big deal. So really gauging and using this kind of analysis, we're looking at facing our first line resistance really at that 105.5 zone, which makes sense. I mean, that's just a normal natural place for price to get a little resistance. But for the time being, it's catching a massive bid, and we should anticipate some heavy moves coming up here. Okay. All right. Awesome. Nice to see a lot of these big moves happening and making some changes. So, actually, let's take a look at this real quick on the daily. Because we have that hourly Gartley. Yeah, we have this guy. Deep crab. Very deep crab. That's the other one. Yeah, big move here. Ooh, nice. Look at on the daily. This is just gorgeous. Tweezer bottom. That's a classic tweezer bottom. In fact, right on oversold conditions. Well, slightly above it, but huge divergence here. Yeah, it should be a pretty good mover. Maybe catch some nice pips on this throughout the day and into tomorrow. Cool, guys. Anyways, got a little longer than I was looking for, but or you guys were probably looking for. It doesn't bother me. So I just stare at these all the day anyway. So I get to talk to people while still talking to myself. Anyways, you guys have a great Monday. Have a great trading day. I think we're gonna have a fantastic, phenomenal, and exciting trading week in front of us. Long-term trade setups are definitely here, and we should be able to capitalize on a lot of those moves. Yeah, very excited. Keep your eyes on those charts. Keep your eyes on the the trade alerts, and probably maybe tomorrow or Wednesday I want to do some short-term trading, like trading off 15-minute charts. So maybe I'll be with you guys for over an hour tomorrow, because I want to kind of do that with the Ichimoku system live and do that on those shorter time frames, so we can kind of observe how that works out. How do you set a bias for the direction for the day, and how do you trade that during the day? I think that's probably something a lot of people signed up for in period. So let's do some live trading, thinking about doing that tomorrow, where we'll be together a little longer, and we'll be operating on those conditions. We're already set up the trades live. We're looking at it live right now. It's just that we'll be taking some live trades on shorter time frames, and that should be pretty exciting. Anyways, so I hope you guys had a great weekend. Have a good Monday, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.